I think we flipped it with Tinder because we took away the kind of the challenge. You just swipe. Oh, I've got a match. Like imagine you went into a bar and there was a little green like tick above every girl who talked to you. You just go and talk to them, but there wasn't. You meet a girl, you got 10 likes, you got 10 matches. You go on a date, you've got 9 matches you can talk to later. So we flipped it and we gave the power to the men, and I think that's the one power we've been a bit with.
He's totally wrong, but let's go ahead and listen to Andrew's response.
I think it gives women more power.
I think it's a lot less.
Well, I'll give you.
Depends on the power. The power to go and get laid, maybe, but the power to meet a guy and settle down, I think it's stripped away.
Why? They can be 10 times more selective because now they have. Well, I mean, because it works the other way. Imagine you're a woman and now you have your sex selection increases times 10,000. Now you can be really selective. So I'll make the argument that I would make for this.
The difference I'm saying is between wanting to meet somebody and have sex, or want to meet somebody and settle down.
Yeah, I'm saying the same thing.
Right.
Meeting someone and settling down, I'm saying that it actually gives more power to the women.
Interesting.
And here's how I would counter this. So localization, that used to be how relationships were done. You know, there's X amount of people around here, right?
Yeah.
So those are your pickings. Okay. If you're in a big city, your pickings are a little bit bigger. If you're in a small town, you know, your pickings are not so big. Okay. So it was pretty common for there to be, 10, 12 suitors, maybe something like that, or less, 2, 3 suitors, something like this. And that's what you chose from because it was localized. But now it's global. So you've now increased suitors by like 10,000. So these women are getting like 800 DMs from men a day, even very ugly women, right? So these women now think that they have a greater chance of landing a much more high status man than they would ever ordinarily have access to because of this. So their options drastically increase. It's actually men's options which decrease. And here's how.
You heard me make this argument all the time on a podcast where I'm like, well, back in the day, women only had to choose from the men in their town. If it's the hot girl in the town, usually the hot girl, the very attractive girl, she's normally going to choose a higher status, top tier guy. The popular guys in the town, usually a football player, a musician. And back then, women options were limited because they didn't have social media, Instagram, dating apps, things of that sort. And also, they couldn't post any pictures and stuff like that. They actually had to go outside and present themselves because when it comes to the dating dynamic within men and women advertise themselves, men pitch themselves. Women dating options was limited back in the day, but in modernity currently right now, no, they have Instagram, they have dating apps. They can fully utilize and capitalize on their sexuality to get higher status men outside of their town, which means they have more options. So the host, he's just incorrect.
But now with globalization, that same woman who you're talking to on Tinder has 500, 600, 700 guys who's also DMing her right alongside you, whereas the woman in the bar only had the couple of people who would talk to her in the bar. That's a much less of a competition suit for you. So I would actually say the opposite. I would say it put way more control in women's hands and way less control in men's hands.
I still don't know if I agree.
No,
because I think it's made it too easy for men to not want to settle down.
His argument and his position is incorrect because he's only talking about a small percentage of men that actually have those options. The majority of men don't have options like that, and there's data on it. When it comes to dating apps, women swipe left on over 80% of men. 80% of men they deem unattractive, and I think it's actually more than that. Certain dating apps, I think it's like 95% of the time women swipe left, but men swipe right on women about 70 to 80% of the time. So it's all skewed, which means that women have more options and men, the average guys or below average guys, they have less options. And the guys that are above average, they have more options. So the pool of men that women find attractive is very, very small. So he's wrong.
Well, I don't know. How? Because they could sleep with the skank?
yeah, but maybe there is maybe it's that alignment with, the dropping of the kind of the birth rate in that guys feel like they have to do it less. Now they've got these massive amounts of options.
Yeah. Well, I think that you'll find that the men who have success on Tinder, they have success with a lot of women. And the men who don't have success on Tinder, which is most men, have no success with any women.
Booyah. There you go, Andrew. Booyah. Simple. Simple, easy, and concise. Exactly what I said. If women are attracted to a very small percentage of men, then the guys that have success on Tinder, they're having success on Tinder and in real life. They're cleaning slates. But the guys that don't have success on Tinder, they normally, it's very hard for those guys to have success on Instagram and also in real life. So it's that easy.
Which would mean that there's a percentage of men who sleep with a lot of women, and the vast majority of them who sleep with no women.
There's a big void.
Yeah, so you end up with, and red pill content creators discuss this all the time, and they're kind of right. The data bears it out that if you're like 6'3" and you're rich and you're in great shape and you're young, you're probably going to get a lot of hot women. You're probably just going to get a lot of women, period. But if it's the case that you're on a dating app, okay, well, all the women are scrolling through all these men, right? Isn't it interesting? They all stop on the same guy. Well, now they're all competing for this one guy. That's true for sexual attention, but all these other men are competing for their attention, for these women's attention. They just, nope. Whereas those same men, I think, would have had a better shot approaching them as a waitress because their intersexual competition's gone.
But hold on, haven't you just made my argument then? If they're all competing for the same guy, it's a lot harder for them to find the guy who's going to settle down because there's a large number of them just competing for that one, and there's all these other guys not.
Okay, and there's only a small pool of guys that meet that standard, but then there's all of these other guys that want her that doesn't meet that standard. That still means that she has many other options. It's just not options that she wants. That's the thing. So the key is, yeah, women still have more options when it comes to mate selection and things of that sort. For short-term and long-term relationships, they still have more options generally than men. But the options that they generally want, which is what the top 5 to 10% guys that meet that standard, those men generally don't want them. So it's not that it's harder, it's that women are just more pickier because of their hypergamous nature, right? Think about it. 50, 60 years ago, well, her options was limited. She didn't see the 6'4" Chad that lived in Miami that drove a G-Wagon. She's seen Kyle, that's 5'11". He works at the community center, and that guy was everything to her. But now she can see Tyrone in Miami driving a Lambo. She like, Tyrone, please, Tyrone, take me. But Tyrone don't want you. Tyrone is going to smash and then dispose of you.
Well, no, because the options through localization for settling down were basically settled. You're going to pick the best of this limited pool. If you give them globalized access now, right, yes, it's true that they'll all go after the same dude 100% because now they have access to that. But that actually gives them control because now they can say, this is the type of guy that I want. I'm going to go for him because there's no limited access.
And they'll leverage down until they find the right one. Because they can't all, if there's like...
You mean settle?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll settle eventually,
yeah.
Sure. But, you know, they're not settling for who they wanted. You know what I mean? They're not settling for who they wanted. But they never really did. But localization at least gave you a good shot, right? So don't mean you specifically, right? But say take an ugly guy like me. If it's the case that, you know, I'm in a localized area and I go into like a bar or something, and you know, this is pre-internet, you know, like pre-internet. Let's say the waitress gets hit on by, I don't know, 5 regulars or something like this. It's not that many different people to choose from here. You know what I mean? I don't really have to do that much to stand out too much. But what if she has, you know, 10,000 guys approaching her?
Yeah, but Andrew Wilson is speaking about competition. The competition thickens for men because women are very selective when it comes to the guys that they're attractive to. Now, women are in competition as well with one another, but since men's standards aren't as high, then the competition isn't comparable. Remember, his argument is that women have less power now in the dating marketplace than they had 50 to 60 years ago. No, they actually have more power. They just don't know how to choose better. They lack at discernment. They don't know how to judge men and make a good choice. This is a new one, a refrigerator analogy. If you broke and you ain't got no food in your refrigerator, you open it up, you see peanut butter, you see jelly, and you got a loaf of bread in a cabinet. What you gonna eat? You're going to eat the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? That's what you're going to eat. But if you open up your fridge, you see the peanut butter, the jelly, you got steaks from last night, you got chicken in there that can be made, you got turkey meat with some Swiss cheese. If you like American cheese, you got that too. You got provolone cheese as well, so you got options, even got some ham, cold cuts in there. You look in there, you got some yogurts, all types of fruit juices and sodas, all types of trash in there, right? You're going to be looking in your refrigerator for a good 5 minutes. Like, God dang, I really can't make a decision of what I want to eat. That's women right now in the sexual dating marketplace.
No Fugazee.
They're like, well, I don't know what to choose from. Like, and then they end up choosing some garbage. They end up choosing the dude that rizzes her up, has a good mouthpiece, because that dude can put her in an emotional state and make her feel the vibes. But he was lying the whole time. He broke. He really can't keep a job. And she basically got piped down by, just a brokey. She finds out that he's a brokey and that he sold her a dream. And now she's mad and she thinks all men are crap. Well, lying isn't good. But hey, he had to eat too. So he had to do what he had to eat. You feel me? So women got to wake up to the game. That's why they need to watch the podcast and wake up to the game so you can be aware of male nature and how men operate in the dating marketplace, but also so you can be more aware of your own nature, because women tend to live life on easy mode and they don't sit there and think like, well, if I want a guy, I should think what the guy that I want, what he wants back in me. But women don't think like that. They're so selfish because they have so many options. They only think about self. Well, I want a guy. I want a guy. Yes, I want a guy and I know what type of guy I want. And that's it. It stops there. They never tend to look in the mirror and self-reflect what the guy wants in return. Right? So then, since they're only going after what they want, even if they do meet a guy that's their standards, height preference, income preference, the guy smashes, pipe her down, crickets, 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 and then he disposes of her because she didn't add any value outside of sex. She wasn't an asset. She was a liability. So this nigga got rid of her. A lot of women tend to experience that nowadays. But I digress. Let's continue on.
500 guys approaching her, or some days she has 200 men approaching her. Now I have to do a lot to kind of stand out, right? So I'm not really sure that it didn't do anything, or it didn't help women get control of the situation, because it sure seems like they have complete and total dominant control, and I don't think it's done anything good for men. That's for sure. So that's just my 2 cents.
Fair.
So if you like that clip and you want to watch more, click right here. But if you want to watch the full episode, click right here.